we haven't been doing that in the last few times.
All right, great start, Henry. Okay, so we're now live on the 9th Square table. First actual episode after relaunching, after we had a couple of sort of tester ones. So this time I'm supposedly hosting. I'm Jack Austin, Eternal Flitter on the forums. I've got Henry Miller, who's assistant head of my team over in Copenhagen. And we've got Andrew Huntley this time, who's at Zambro on the forums, who's in around the Cardiff area in Wales. So basically, we're just going to have a quick chat about some of the sneak peeks that have come out. None of us are really, none of us are rules team or experts or any of that kind of stuff, but just whatever we've seen, like the rest of the community, and what we think about it, particularly on what armies we play. And then we're going to talk a bit about how to grow a local gaming community. I'm the secretary of a club in the UK. Andrew's part of a really big growing club in Cardiff. And then if Henry has anything to add.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot. I don't do a lot of work in the community, but I run the 9th Age in Denmark Facebook group, and I'm kind of posting a lot of stuff. So I do a little bit here and there in Denmark.
Yeah. Okay. So anything that anyone wants to pitch in first with, in terms of sneak peeks they've seen, because the ACS teams have been releasing a lot over the last few days and week maybe.
I'm excited to see the Dread Elf stuff. I'm waiting for the spoiler. I just saw that there's going to be a new one tomorrow. I'm stoked for it. The Hunting Chariot is the most recent thing that's come out. Love the idea of it getting the anchor rule, so cutting the flying movement, reducing move as it is. It's pretty solid. I think it'll slow down those phoenixes and bloodletters.
So that's the Hunter, isn't it? Strength 7.
Yeah, that's the one.
So is that like a shooting chariot that Dreadnoughts get?
Yeah. There's 2 different chariots. One of them is got a bolt thrower on it. It's strength 7, AP
3
something. Yeah, that's and then that's splitting the strength and AP. So
it's quick to fire and accurate, so it's pretty much always going to be hitting on a 3 or a 4.
So it's a bit like a not flying sky sloop.
Yeah, with like a strength 7 bolt thrower.
Kind of sell it short when you say it like that, but
yeah. It's, but obviously, I guess the idea, like,
they're all over the Danish meta.
I mean, a lot of the changes that that have started to come through, like potentially that one, are things like trying to make each unit a bit more unique, like trying not to have this army's weird shooty chariot unit. Like try to make everything have a purpose and be more interesting.
Yeah, I see that. It's definitely got a little bit more flavor to it now with the anchor rule and just the effective movement.
Yeah, you can really see they've tried to give it like a role, as you said, Jack. They're trying to I think when you're building an army, okay, I'm building an army, I need all the different tools. And maybe if you kind of get to a point where, okay, I need something for hunting monsters, maybe you take 1 or 2 of these. And it fills a role in the army.
Funny you should say that, because one of the sneak peeks that I was going to talk about was after we talked so long about Rangers on your podcast, they are actually going to, they're actually changing quite a bit in 2.0. At least this is what they are currently. They may still change, but this is what they were. I think this was released today or yesterday. So the new Rangers, I think they're keeping mortal shots too, but they're also gaining immunity to terror. So facing down monsters and stuff. And they're also getting lethal strike against all beasts. So it will change, the unit types are changing in 2.0, but essentially it's going to mean like beasts, monstrous beasts, and ridden monsters and monsters.
You get lethal strike?
Lethal strike. That's
quite good.
Which unit is this?
So this is like the Imperial Rangers, the special archer choice. So they're not core.
Okay.
So at the moment, not really anyone takes them apart from me because I'm weird.
Yeah, I didn't recognize the name. So are they one of those underused units?
Yeah, I mean, they're super cheap essentially for 5. I mean, you can buy them in 5s, which is also quite rare now. So 5-man skirmishing archer unit with multi shots too. So basically, that's all it is. And they scout obviously, but they don't really do anything. Really, they're just archers.
5 bow shots.
So again, I think this is like an attempt to make them a bit more different and give them a role, and also means that you've got an option. Like Empire typically doesn't have answers to monsters outside of cannons, and I think this is maybe an idea of trying to put options back in that don't revolve around cannons.
Are they also monster hunters in the fluff? Is that kind of their? Is that their,
they are meant to be.
Their role is in the fluff.
I mean, they're meant to be hunters. So there was some like one of the ACS guys. I think Felix wrote some not canon, but like approved, like a background what you could think of them as, and they are meant to be sort of local militia running around protecting the local areas, but also just their main role is to hunt for food if the harvest is really shit. But if there's things you need to shoot to save the town, then they'll try have a go at that too. So I think they're meant to be like hardy woodsmen kind of thing, rather than grizzled veterans, if you see what I
mean. What actually, like game-wise, can you think of anything that this lethal strike will be good against?
I mean, anything with regen, assuming that doesn't change, like manticores or zombie dragons.
Yeah.
But it removes armor, so like ridden monsters don't have ward saves typically at the moment. So I mean, any 6 just goes straight through to is a wound rather than maybe being saved on the armor.
What about the ignores terror mechanic? Is there any benefit? I mean, sure, it's nice if you ignore terror, but practically, how does that fit into things?
I mean, I don't think it's...
7, right?
Huh?
The leadership 7, right?
They are leadership 7.
So you could get kind of terrored off, like, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not like a power change so much as like a fluff change. I think it's like they spend every night out in the deep dark woods, like they're not going to be as afraid of some beasties. I guess that's the idea more than anything else.
Right.
Because I mean, at the moment they are underused. I don't know if this means people will take like 3 times 10 of them or something, but I think you might include a couple of units. Also, they're really cheap at the moment, so whether supposedly if they stay fairly inexpensive, you could still use them as chaff, which is what a lot of people. I mean, I use them as extra shooting and chaff, so like, why not?
Yeah.
Because they're reducing the writer number of models you can have, so you can only have 20 writers in a list now.
That's
some people.
That's good.
Some people were running 30, and that was getting a bit silly.
Yeah, I have played that list many times. It's not fun.
Not for an elf.
No.
Oh, no. Lots of strength for armor piercing is the worst.
Oh, yeah.
So, is there anything you've seen recently, Henry, that isn't spoilery, that has actually been released that you could want to talk about?
My favourite thing that I've seen is for Sylvan Elves. There is the magic bow for Sylvan Elves has come out. Well, it's been announced. The old one did, I think, 2d6 poison shots at strength 1.
Something 2 or 3d6, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And the new one does the number of shots that you have attacks. So this will mean that the Pathfinder, assuming that the Pathfinder hasn't changed too much, I think the Pathfinder hero will have 3 and the Pathfinder Lord will have 4. So there'll be 3 or 4 shots if you're using it on the Pathfinder. And the bow gives +1 to wound and +2 to wound if you're at short range. And you can also, I think, combine it with arrows. So there's going to be some kind of armor piercing in there, I would expect.
Well, I've seen that they're changing the way Sylvan arrows are working, in that you're always getting the AP1, but it's strength 4 at short range, something like that. So at short range, they're a lot more deadly.
Yeah. I know this one is going to be strength 3 bow. So it will start at strength 3 and then give +1 to wound, and then +2 at short range.
Okay.
Yeah, I see that as a current. It's strength 3 at long range and then strength 4. I see that +1 as a sort of direct buff, in the sense you can shoot monsters and just be that little bit better.
Yeah, but it's also good against like something with toughness 7 or toughness 8. You can wound like a Sphinx on the 4+ if you're at short range. That's quite nasty.
Pretty fun.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot of that. I mean, I'm quite excited to be playing that. I mean, I have a Pathfinder character model that I haven't used yet in 9th Age. So that'll be nice to get out off the shelf.
You're behind the times because I was running the SEAL Team 6 unit for ages. The Sacred Seed like commando squad of like whatever it was, the cheapest Sentinel unit you can buy, and a Pathfinder like chieftain with Sacred Seeds on him. It's like popping up a forest. But yeah,
I haven't really used it. It's not really been my kind of thing. I have more combat.
Not a strong pick.
But
I've played that item once in a campaign game. I was chasing down a unit of Sylvans with my ogres, and they just poof disappeared, showed up somewhere else. Frustrating.
So lists.
Yeah, so as well. There's been a load of things released for VC as well. So I'm going to struggle to remember it all. But the main differences are the Coven Throne, or the Court of the Damned, rather. Sorry, Court of the Damned, which before wasn't really picked like at all because the benefits you're getting just weren't outweighed by the price it was, and if you're taking it as a mount, you got a garbage armor save, which is not really something you want.
Is this the one that gets better as you kill?
No, so the Court of the Damned is like the Lamia mostly themed mount. The one that you can
use this in the battle report that will be in the scroll in a couple of weeks. I actually used the Lamia throne as my general. It was okay.
Yeah, it's not terrible. It's just compared to the other picks, I guess, in the book, it's just a no-brainer to like never take it in a real list, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't like a fun list, but it wasn't a very competitive list.
But yeah, I don't know if you've seen the sneak peeks for it, Henry, at all?
No, I haven't actually. I haven't been following the vampires at all, so please tell me.
So essentially what they wanted to change was that the Altar of Undeath does too many things at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think everyone agreed that it's impossible to give it a points value because it does too many things. So in order to nerf it, you actually just have to change its rules. Because it does too many things that break the game in too many different ways.
Are they changing the altar then?
So they're changing all of it. So what they're wanting is that one unit is a buff unit and one unit is a debuff unit.
Okay.
So as far as I'm aware, I could actually look it up, but as far as I'm aware, the altar is not giving out a regen bubble anymore, but it's giving out a short range damage burst. So it can like do damage to people within a certain range. And one of the options was that it did damage to one unit within 18, but I think that's being sent back because it was too long range and wasn't really in the flavor. But the court now is going to be I think it's a permanent debuff wagon, I believe. So it's either affecting agility or weapon skill of opponents. So it makes it a really good, like Death Star making unit. And also it's getting more armor. So I think you're going to be able to actually combo the armor onto the character. So the character will actually get a decent armor save.
Okay. But I was using it in distracting before, unlike distracting armor or something.
But the biggest change is that it's now going to be a war platform.
Okay, so you can go in units.
Yeah, so very much like the Dread Elf Divine Altar. So they're changing the base size to 60 by 100.
Oh,
and you can put it
base sizes. Oh,
pull them all off the bases.
Nah, just make a strip, 10 mil by 100 mil wide. Put it down the side. You know how to multi-base, Henry. You've got beautiful unit fillers.
Yeah. It's just work, isn't it?
Oh dear, dear.
Anyway, I need a proper Court of the Damned model because I'm using my Black Coach model with the vampire in the back. So I could probably do with building myself a new one. It's just another excuse to make a new conversion, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if this is going to be good or not because at the moment the rules don't look super amazing.
It can go in units. That's just really good in itself.
Yeah, I mean, it protects it from sort of lots of volume of rubbish fire, which I don't think was really a problem before. I mean, it was just the cannon magnet that it was before, and it still will be. I think it does make it a little bit more.
What it does is, for me, it saves it from crumbling. If you're fighting it on its own, you kind of have to be careful that you don't get combat res. And if it's in a big unit of, let's say, skeletons, then it's doing a lot for the unit. It's messing with the weapon skill and the agility, I guess still, and also it's stopping itself from crumbling because the skeletons are going to take wounds before the court does. So that's quite important, I think.
It also helps to just make those core units better, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You have to take a brick of skellies, then might as well throw something in it that'll help put their damage output up a little bit.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't know what the vampiric powers are now for Lamia yet, but assuming commandment will still be a thing in some way, the combos are pretty insane because, so I've actually got the rules up now. The Unholy Dominion, which is the debuff effect, is all units, enemy units within 6, suffer -2 agility and -2 defensive skill, which is obviously the defensive part of weapon skill in the new rule. And the main change is you also get +1 armor because you get mounts protection if it's a mount. So it means it combos with your armor save, so you can actually get a decent save on it. So combo that with some of the buffs you can get, make Barragod a bit nuts, but probably I'm thinking more if you're going to run this, you run it in skeletons and the Barragod run around on their own.
Yeah, I agree. I think
and then you've got two really meaty units.
Spoiler for you. Now I was running Witchcraft with the build that I was using with Lamia on the throne, and the new Witchcraft spells will go quite well with this debuff. They will combo quite well. So if Lamia can still use Witchcraft, then it might be quite an interesting build of skeletons.
Interesting. Again, I mean, I'm definitely going to use it at some point. I'm just not sure if it's going to be like a staple pick. But I think VC among a lot of armies will be completely unrecognizable in 2.0.
You think?
So if they're changing the regen bubble, doesn't that mess with the zombie dragon regen build?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So at the moment, I'm not sure how much of this has been released, but as far as I'm aware, I think it's fairly common knowledge that the altars are kind of broken for how much they cost as well. So the regen bubble is no longer going to be on that. It's going to be on another unit. I'm not sure if this has been released yet, so I won't go into it too much. It's all on the forum what has been released anyway. But there's a very good chance that the regen stacking won't stack plus 5 up unless you're Strigoi, and it won't stack on large targets or what are they called? Not structures, but constructs. So you won't be able to get it on Wing Reapers, you won't be able to get it on Shrieking Horrors or Dragons. Unless you're Strigoi.
Cool.
So I think it's going to limit the bullshit a little bit.
Jack, did you ever run the Strigoi with the 4+ regen on the Shrieking Horror?
No.
That was quite
because
fun.
It's quite funny, but it doesn't have an armor save, so it's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's fun though.
Yeah, it's fun.
You can beast magic yourself.
It's true, and that gets kind of mental. No, what I did run the other day actually was a whole Ghoul Horde block with regen. Only one altar because I was trying to not be super gamey. A big block of ghasts, so they're like 8 ghasts with a. So I had 1 vampire Strigoi Lord in the ghouls, and 1 vampire with Bestial Bulk in the ghasts, and then a unit of 8 vampire spawn. So I guess I had like triple blocks just running around, and took off an Empire army with it. So it was quite fun.
Nice.
Anyway, unless anyone else has anything they want to talk about in terms of sneak peeks or anything else 2.0 related, we can go on to the next topic.
I've got one more.
Yeah.
The Sea Guard sneak peek for Highborn Elves came out today or yesterday. It's quite interesting if you're into Highborn Elves. The changes in the rules are that they get +1 defensive skill. I think that's like a fluff reason.
Okay.
It's supposed to be like slightly more elite than the Citizen Spears, so they get an extra defensive skill, which I think is fine. They lost the ambush from before, and their like volley fire rules have changed in the new edition. So now they can shoot in 1 more rank than normal, I think, when you're volley firing, and the Sea Guard are allowed to stand and shoot with no penalty. That's their new rule. And then
that's quite cool.
Yeah, the last rule is they get a bit like a detachment rule for Empire. So if there's a unit getting charged within 12 inches of them, they can stand and shoot.
Nice.
That's all right.
Oh, okay. That actually could be quite strong with elves shooting.
Yeah, I mean, it gets strong when you start buffing them, like flaming swords or something like that. But I don't think it's
still
strong.
Still strength 3 bow shots. I mean, it's not game breaking on its own.
Yeah, no, you absolutely. It's like it looks amazing on like the detachment rules look amazing on paper, but are very hard to make really effective use of.
I've actually seen them work really, really well. I think the detachment rules are really strong.
So how does volley fire work now? So they've got their own special rule to shoot in an extra rank.
Yeah, so volley fire is changing. I think the reason for this is when you have like blocks of 50 orcs with bows.
Yeah.
And it's kind of stupid. When you have 50 bow shots, it's a lot of dice to roll, and it's not really. I don't think it's that immersive when you have like a big horde of 50 models like shooting all at the same time. I think it's a little bit too much. So the new volley fire rule is, as far as I know, that if you're volley firing, you get +1 rank to shoot out. So you shoot in 3 ranks.
Okay, so then the Sea Guard would shoot in 4?
No, the Sea Guard shoot in 3.
Okay, so they don't have volley fire, but they shoot in 3.
I can't remember, to be honest. I think it's something like that, or it's that it might just be that was part of the discussion. So they can like volley fire when someone's charging into another unit.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, went Sea Guard like fairly not seen that often in like competitive lists? Yeah,
they're just really expensive because you're kind of paying for an archer and a spearman at the same time. So it's not quite double the price, but it's more expensive. But then they don't really do that good in shooting because they're less range, and you're kind of paying.
They don't have longbows, right?
No, they only have normal bows, and you're paying for a combat unit as well with armor. So it's kind of too expensive for what they do. You see them every now and again. You get a big block, but I don't think they're really worth their points. And I hope that in the new version that they are worth their points.
Okay, so in your opinion, they should be like maybe even a tiny bit more expensive, but actually have rules that mean that you want to take them?
Yeah, I think the new rules maybe they will kind of take into account the costs, and it'll be worth it now because they have some new interesting rules. But I'm still concerned that they're going to be too expensive because you're paying for an archer unit and a combat unit. And at the end of the day, they're strength 3, toughness 3 elves with a 5+ armor save.
Yeah, I mean, isn't like potentially making them more like a Longbeard role for dwarves like an idea? Like it's a core unit, but it's more elite.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like what they're trying to do with the extra defensive skill. But then the difference between Longbeards and warriors, or clansmen, I think they're called, is that they're both combat units, and so you're paying just for the combat stats, and that's fine. That's good investment. But what you're doing is you're kind of getting a spearman, which is all already like a little bit expensive because they have high stats like weapon skill and initiative, and then you're giving it a bow, so you're kind of paying the cost of an archer on top of that. Or you're doing it the other way around. You're getting an archer, and then you're giving it armor and a spear and extra defensive stats. So depending on how you use them, it's really not really worth it. Because if they're sat at the back shooting, then you're not using the combat stats. And if they're fighting, then you're not always using the shooting. So it's not the best investment, but I can see how in some lists it works.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, it's just any rules change which promotes people to take units which haven't been taken for a bit is kind of good.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think better move on to the other topic that we were wanting to talk about, and kind of why I wanted to get Andrew on. But I'm sure me and Henry both got some points we want to add too. But essentially, it was, the Ninth Age sort of appears to have like this world-reaching, huge community going on, and that's all very well. But you can't play a game against somebody on the other side of the world very easily. So kind of the important thing is actually having a community which is local to you that you can play games with. And some people in the UK, games clubs are fairly common. I think they are in other countries too, but basically Andrew is part of the Vale Renegades. So I don't know if you have any hand in running it at all, but
I mean, everybody has their own input. There's a couple of guys in the club who say like, oh, we'll run events, we'll do this, we'll do that. But, if I wanted to run something, then I'd just throw it out on our forum, say, this is what I'm doing, and see a response, see who's interested, and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, one of the main reasons that I asked you to be on was A, I actually know you, which is a big help. But B, also like the Renegades, so they've been around a while, right? But
yeah, so I mean, I joined the club probably 5-6 years ago, maybe, and they were going a bit before that. I think I've been playing fantasy for probably about that as well. Started off small with the fantasy, but we looked at the Ninth Age a little bit when it started, and I think it sort of died down a little bit for the first year, and then about a year ago it came back big, and we got a big following of Ninth Age now.
Yeah, so basically what I wanted to ask then is, because I'm sure some people may be wondering this, is they've got like them and a mate or two in someone's front room. How do you go from that to having a club that maybe can take 2 teams of 8 to a team event, or 2 teams of 4 to a team event, for example?
I think the biggest thing with building a gaming club or gaming community is just sort of persevering with it, and it's patience. When I started playing fantasy, there were 4 of us, and I'd play against the same 3 people for a good amount of time. Over a year, I think we had maybe 3 extra people join us, and they just stick with it. They were playing other games, and, they saw us every now and then playing fantasy, and, they'd come over and they'd chat and they'd hang out for a bit. And then one day they'd be like, you know what, I'm going to buy into this as well and start up. So I think it's just sort of a hang in there type deal, and just waiting out people come and join you and play over time.
I mean, you guys are also quite lucky in that you've got Firestorm Games in your backyard.
Yeah, that is a solid venue, biggest in the UK, I think.
Well, certainly the nicest to visit, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of like best tables, best like facilities on site and cleanest and that kind of stuff. But it's quite a big deal when you actually are looking at venues. But also, you guys have actually got. Do you guys do like weekly meetings for games, or do you just sort of have a forum, or is it all ad hoc?
We have club night, which Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays essentially. Tuesdays are predominantly 40k. Fridays 40k as well, but there's some Ninth Age players around. And Sundays, all the Ninth Age guys come down and we play a couple of games on a Sunday. So our club's quite massive and lucky in the sense that we can play so often throughout the week. And Firestorm is great. They stay open late, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. They're open during the days in the week as well. So people come down on an ad hoc basis as well and just play games.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm the secretary of a fairly big wargaming club in the UK, in Bath. And we've got about, 3 to 5 people who play Ninth Age. We usually play on Tuesday nights. There is a Thursday night available as well. So having like a regular meeting night where people who don't necessarily have a game planned can just come down and rock up and not necessarily have a game, but at least come and chat or watch a game or something like that, where they don't necessarily have to plan it all out ahead of time, is, I think, the thing that's helped a lot of my club, at least. Because, I mean, when I joined my club about 3 or 4 years ago, a bit longer than that, maybe even, but it had been around several years before that, and it had already sort of was established. So that's also why I'm kind of interested in asking, because I felt like when I first started playing fantasy, we didn't really hear about the Renegades at all. Like, it wasn't a club that was going out to tournaments or stuff like that. So
so I think it's been probably the past 18 months, maybe 2 years, where the Renegades have really sort of stepped up and started running events. I think there's maybe 5 or 6 40k tournaments. We ran a 9th Age tournament a while back. It's definitely been something recent that we've been doing, and I think that's just coming down to sort of club politics, really, and just people sort of saying, all right, this is what I want to do, and then actually stepping up and carrying that through and doing that. Before, we had a couple of people like, oh, this is a good idea, let's do this, and then nothing really came of it. And then Andy, he just sort of stepped up and said, all right, if you're going to do that, like, coordinate with me, I'll help you out, and we'll get people to do it, and stuff sort of start happening then.
Yeah, it definitely does take 1 or 2 people who are a bit more motivated and want to really, as you said, persevere really to get it to happen. One of the other people I wanted to have on was Callum from Bristol, that you probably know.
Oh yeah, I know Callum. Yeah.
Because he's so there's a sort of a Bristol community which is sort of like a club, but it's more casual than that, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's sprung up in the last year, and all the players were sort of there or thereabouts, but he's just sort of come out of nowhere and just taken it all by storm and just fought by force of will, just made it happen, and just been really enthusiastic about everything. And it's just sort of getting over that almost like embarrassment that you want to make it happen, but you don't want to come across like too strong in a way. Yeah. But he's got just the right amount of get up and go and make things happen that I think has really helped that community grow. And now, again, there's like 3 or 4 or 5 of them that go to tournaments now, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think going to tournaments as well is the best place to really sort of meet people and network, essentially. So the 40k side of things, when I used to play 40k, and definitely now again with the 9th Age, I would go to events, would meet different people from different clubs, and would get talking to them, find out their club, follow them on Facebook, whatever, go over to their events, invite them to ours. I met and played Callum in an event a couple of months back, and he's like, oh yeah, we should definitely get the Bristol lot to come over to Cardiff and play a game. And now we're playing the test event for the team tournament next week, and there's 4 teams there. So, kudos to Callum for putting all that together.
Yeah, I think I've been dragged into this.
That's how I actually met the Ammertime guys, was at a tournament. I'd only just started playing, and back then it was Warhammer again. And I went to a tournament and I played against Ulrich in the 2nd game. And then I played against Lasser in the 3rd game. And then, we got talking, and then we just suddenly started playing together. And then that's how I kind of got into my gaming group, just at a tournament.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, that's actually something that I've been thinking a little bit about. That although sort of big tournaments, like in the UK we call them GTs, sometimes like grand tournaments, like to beginner play or like less competitive players, they might think, oh, it's really big, kind of bit not scary, but like I'm not sure I want to take that on. Like maybe I should try a small tournament first. But actually, if you go to a big tournament, because the players there, it's going to attract better players typically. You're going to draw a good player in the first 1 or 2 rounds, and then you're going to be down the middle, bottom tables, and then you're going to get 2 or 3 or 4 games against people who are your level, and you're going to have a bit more fun. Or if you are really that good, you're going to play people who are your level straight away because you're up in the top tables. So, funnily enough, I actually think taking the plunge and going to a large tournament is probably one of the best places to start.
Yeah, I agree.
Once you've got the grip to the rules, obviously, right? But you're going to have more fun. You're going to meet more people. In the UK, it's very common that loads of people go out for food afterwards, or food and or drinks, which is pretty. I'm assuming it's pretty similar in lots of places.
Denmark.
Huh?
You know how it is in Denmark.
Yeah. But again, that's what I was actually thinking about Giant Fanatic, is that the field was so large that even though it was a fluff event, really, the top few tables got very competitive.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you had not a strong list or you weren't a stronger player, you're going to get pushed down the tables and play some fun games in day 2, which is also why you come. Like, you come to have fun, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, unless you're trying to win the tournament, it's you really just got to have some fun in the games, really, which is all you can really try and do. But that's also, I think it's a bit of a paradox, because I reckon a lot of people would think go to a small local one to get to grips with it. But actually, if you've got a big event not far from you, go for it if you can.
Yeah,
I think.
Just go and play. That's the best thing you can do. Whether it's a big one or a small one, just go play and see if you like it.
We're all here to play.
The bigger the event, the better.
Right? So, 5 games in 9th age doesn't really matter if it's a big tournament, small tournament. It's still an enjoyable process. You're still meeting a bunch of people you don't necessarily know beforehand. So,
yeah, definitely. I mean, I've met so many people just generally who now I would call friends, who I never would have met if I didn't play 9th. I mean, Henry for one. Both of you guys.
Yeah. What I find hard about going to tournaments, this GT just gone in Bristol, I went with a crowd from the Vale Renegades. There was a handful of us there. I find it hard between the rounds to, you want to go and chat with your mates, see how they do, but you also want to kind of network a little bit. And I always find striking that balance hard. I mean, me and Jack have been at the past couple of events together. Didn't really chat much just because other things were going on, chatting to other people and whatever. I think it's hard to try and network while you're there, as well as, keeping up with your mates.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, now that I've played tournaments in the UK for nearly 3 years, I guess, like regularly, like 6 or 7 or more a year, I now know in a GT, I know like the top 30 quite well because I've met them at least 10 times. So time I've gone around like once to every person, that doesn't leave very much time, as you say, for like chatting to brand new people. But that's why I try and do go out my way. If I play someone I've never played before, which is awesome, to really try and have a good conversation, see where they're at and what they're about, and because that's also why it's fun. Like when I went to Denmark, that's also why you go, because after a while playing 9th against the same few people, because if you win your games at a tournament in the same country, you're playing the same 20 people at every tournament.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty much. So that's why it's fun to go a bit further afield and play some other people, because that's part of what it's about, really.
I think it's quite nice if you're competitive and you're playing like on the top tables, like not knowing how good your opponent is. Because I mean, if I'm playing in Denmark, then I have a rough idea of like who's a really good player and who's not. So I kind of have more pressure when it's someone who I know is really good. I'd have more pressure to kind of play well and get everything right. Whereas when I was in England, I had no idea who was good and who was bad, so it was a lot more relaxed, and I was just kind of taking it as it was. And I think that's quite nice as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think quite, as Jack said, quite a lot of the tournaments in the UK, sort of the top quarter, top third even, they're all the same people. They go to every event. They're recognizable. And if you're on the scene, you know who they are. You can usually hear them coming. But if you go to a different country, then you got no idea who's who, do you?
Yeah, I mean, the UK either benefits or suffers from that because it's so small and you can drive to anywhere in a very reasonable amount of time most of the time. But just to stay on topic just briefly, is there anything you wanted to add that you had thoughts on about why the Vale Renegades in particular have grown so quickly? Or is it just a combination of great venue, which is quite good? I guess you can actually walk there, or it's quite easy to get to. And
yeah. Transport in Cardiff is great. Place to park, all that stuff. I think the other thing that definitely came to mind when you're talking about sort of building gaming clubs is just being inclusive. At the same time as when I joined the Vale Renegades, I had no idea that the Vale Renegades existed. I joined the club Viet Taff, they call themselves, and they're on a different night. And they just weren't very inclusive, and they're just a bit rude and blunt and whatever. And when I met the guys in the Renegades, they were like, "Oh, great, come do this, come do that," and they're just really top blokes. So it's definitely don't be a prick. to...
I think definitely there's something to be said for first impressions.
Yeah.
Particularly on, in this community, I think there's two types of people. There's a lot of people who are very quiet, and there's other people who are very confident and very happy to sort of go in for it. But that first group of people who are a little bit nervous, if you don't be inclusive, as you said, or if you don't welcome them quite nicely, then they aren't going to come back maybe ever, and you've lost potentially a mate, or at least an opponent. So although it sounds hard to sort of like treat everyone amazingly well the first time you meet them, it kind of goes without saying, but it is kind of important if you're trying to build a community, and you start with a couple of people, don't you?
It's even more important as well, because everybody on the 9th scene sort of knows each other and knows each other well, and it's, I wouldn't say cliquey, but everybody's really confident, and from an outsider perspective, it's quite intimidating to just sort of come in and say, this is me, like, here I am.
Yeah, very, very much.
Yeah, I think what you guys are getting to is really important. I mean, I think we all know that this is not a hobby that many people are joining. There definitely are people who are new, but there's not that many. So every single new person really matters. So for me, like I said, I don't work in any special way in the community in Denmark, but I'm active, and if people have questions, or if people make a post on the group, or I even get sometimes people send me rules questions and things, because they know that maybe I know what I'm talking about, don't really, but at least they know, they can see I'm active. And I always make the effort to try and answer everyone, and try and just go out of my way a little bit for people, because I think it's important to kind of have that community spirit, maybe, or have that kind of that feeling that people can actually go somewhere or speak to someone or have that conversation that they need to have to feel part of the community.
Yeah, definitely. I think that first up impression is pretty massive for a lot of people, because again, a lot of people who do play war games, like some other hobbies, or that's a bit of a stereotype, aren't necessarily that self-confident, and it kind of sucks to say it, but it's true. Right, if either of you have anything more to add on either of those, we can probably start to wind down.
Yeah, I think as well as building a gaming community, you've got to sort of maintain it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have a group of guys that play, great, but maybe life takes over a little bit and they can't make it every now and then. You got to sort of have an incentive or a reason to sort of come back and play. Like Jack mentioned it at the start of the video, I think maybe before we started going live, but we have sort of a tiered league in our gaming club. We're running through a campaign now as well. There's just that little incentive to keep people coming back and playing, and it benefits everyone. If you play the game that you enjoy, having fun, then that's really what it's all about.
Tom Taylor is in chat, slagging me off.
Here we go.
Also likes Andy's comments of "Don't be a prick," and also apparently likes your curtains. So you've got a fan there already.
They are, yeah, great. Thanks.
Right. So just to close things out, where can we find you guys or anything you're up to? So Henry, if you want to start.
You can send me an email if you're in Denmark and you want to know how to get a game or just have some questions. You're welcome to get in touch with me, ammertimedk@gmail.com. You can find me on the forum @HenryPMiller. I'm also on Twitter with the same name. I don't really use it that much.
Yeah, and
you can find the Vale Renegades on Facebook. We also got our own forum. It's vale-renegades.freeforum.net. That's where we put all our game arrangements and whatever. And if that fails, you can find me on 9th Age forum @Zambro, ZANBRO.
And what have you got going on the 9th Age forum, Andy? You've got a painting log?
Yeah, so the 9th Age Painting League paint 500 points a month, something like that. I think around summer, everybody just sort of petered out on that, and me included, just kind of fell behind in updating it. But it is there. I do sporadically update that.
Yeah, and then I'm on Twitter, at Eternal_Flitter. I'm at Eternal Flitter on the forums. It hasn't been changed yet, but I'm now going to be heading up a new team, which is going to be like the old content team for the Ninth Age. So it's going to be the community engagement. So basically doing a bit of this, doing how to get the community more interested, more invested, and interacting more, either on the forum and in real life. So at tournaments, at events, doing more coverage, and just generally getting the hype and the conversation going. So that's what we're doing. Henry's going to be helping with that through the Ninth Age Scroll, and trying to do what I tell him to do, hopefully. But in any case, this has been the Ninth Age Square table for the relaunch. I guess we're trying to get this going. I'm going to try and do one of these for about an hour, which is what we've done now, roughly, every Sunday at 6:30 UK time, which is generally speaking 7:30 forum time. So essentially, it's like 5:30 GMT. So the reason I'm doing it on Sundays is that I can have European guests and American guests, because typically they're not going to be working on Sundays. And if anyone wants to tune in live, you should be able to do it, and it's not stupid late either in Europe or in the US.
Is this going to be
hopefully, yeah. More organized next time. So we're going to get guests organized a bit more in advance. Topics, if you have suggestions for what we want to talk about or who you'd like to see on here, it can be this was a very sort of chatty format. I'm well up for doing a more formal, like, interview format if you've got someone you really want to have on here. With potentially Midlands Teams is a tournament coming up in the UK. I'm definitely going. Henry might be going.
Probably won't be.
Probably won't.
I would like to go.
Yeah. In any case, we will try to do a live episode from Midlands Teams with any and all staff members who are there. So I know that we've got all the Empire ACS team is going to be there. We've got a load of balanced teams. We've got a load of other ACS from Saurian Ancients, and Infernal Dwarves. So hopefully get a load of those guys on, chat to them just about gaming. There's loads of ETC players going to be there. So if anyone and any topics you want to see either then or any week, let me know either on the forum or wherever on Twitter, and we'll try and make that happen.
I have a question, Jack. Where can people find firstly the live stream, and secondly the video after it's been published?
So the live stream is always on the same link, I believe. It's on my channel. If you can't find the link, it's just on my channel, my YouTube channel, which is Eternal Flitter's YouTube, whatever it's called. I'm going to be doing news announcements for it, or we're going to have a more like official way of announcing it going forward when we're more organized. Also, the Ninth Age Twitter will be actually retweeting me next time when I try and tweet about it. And then there'll be a forum thread for every episode, so people can actually ask questions and or provide feedback. So it's always going to be on this channel. It might migrate to the Ninth Age channel, but at the moment it's always going to be mine. The VODs will be on my channel in the next day or two when I've edited it a little bit.
Look, it's already there.
Yeah, it is already there. I'm gonna take it down and edit it a little bit. But other than that, yeah, I'm just going to be back on my channel. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, you guys, for coming on. Thanks, Andy, for coming on at such short notice as well.
Thanks for the invite.
Welcome, Jack.
That's all right. And hopefully see you next Sunday.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.